Welcome to the Inner Light Companion, a space to personalize your spiritual journey with the 12 sacred intimacies. I'm Tamara Ridge, your companion and guide. Each episode of this podcast explores a facet of connection with the divine, yourself, others, and the world, offering clear markers to recognize, gentle practices to try, and stories that help you grow what's strong and tend to what needs to grow. Move at your pace and use the name for the holy that fits your heart. This isn't therapy or advice. It's a meeting of souls, a place to listen deeply, ask real questions, and remember the wisdom already within you. I invite you now to take a breath. Let's begin. The other night, I was lying in bed and worrying, not about the big things. The podcast is growing. My ideas about the online retreat are coming together. A sense of community is forming. No, I wasn't worried about any of those things. I was worried about a single word: God. Should I say universe instead? Divine? Source? Would saying God alienate the spiritual but not religious seekers I'm trying to reach? Would it trigger people who love Christianity or Mormonism because that word was used as a weapon against them? Then the next morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got my first rude comment on one of my YouTube shorts. It said, "Try this whisper. You are crazy." And you know what? It didn't faze me at all, but it did give me absolute clarity about something. If I'm going to be called crazy anyway, I might as well tell the truth, my truth, using my words. So today I want to talk about why I say God, why I'm not going to water it down, and why you get to reclaim whatever sacred language calls to your soul, even if it scares you. This is the Inner Light Companion. I'm Tamara Ridge, and this is a bonus episode about the most powerful act of post-religious reconstruction you can do: reclaiming the words that were stolen from you. If you grew up in high control religion, Mormon, evangelical, Catholic, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. God wasn't a word of intimacy. It was a word of distance, hierarchy, and control. In Mormonism, I learned God is Heavenly Father, formal, distant, watching to see if you measure up. You can't talk to God directly. You can't hear from God directly. You can't make choices from God directly about your life. You need priesthood authority as the middleman. God's love is conditional, dependent on your worthiness, your callings, your tithing. God is disappointed in you much more often than pleased with you. And here's what the church actually taught about using God's name. In 1954, Joseph Fielding Smith, the 10th prophet of the LDS Church, said this, and I quote, "The great lesson for us to learn in all our preaching, writing, and conversations is to use the titles of deity sparingly, not with familiarity or with lack of reverence, unquote. Read that again. Use the titles of deity sparingly, not freely, not intimately, not conversationally, sparingly. As if talking to God too much, too casually, too intimately was somehow irreverent. As if direct, personal, conversational relationship with the divine was inappropriate. I'm a little fired up here, but it's because I feel so strongly about this. I found myself in Mormonism so many times. The word God tasted like shame. I'm not allowed. I'm not good enough. I'm constantly being watched and judged. There's fear of eternal separation if you mess up. Something you had to be careful about saying. So when I left the church at 43, I couldn't say that word for a long time. I had too much Mormon baggage attached. Too much trauma, too much disappointment and distance. I tried other words. Universe felt too impersonal, like cosmic randomness, and a little too woo-woo. Source sounded corporate, like I was talking about a software update. Divine, that's beautiful. But still, I felt like I was avoiding something. Higher power, 12-step language. That didn't quite fit my experience. For 10 years, my entire dark night of the soul, I wandered without a word that felt true. And here's what I realized. When religion steals your language, they steal your ability to name your direct spiritual experience. When they tell you to use God's name sparingly, they're teaching you that intimacy with the divine should be rationed, controlled, monitored. If you can't name it freely, you can't name it fully. And I refused to let the Mormon Church keep that word from me forever. When I was 53, I met the man who would become my partner. He'd been studying Paramahansa Yogananda's teaching since he was 15. And the way he talked about God was different. Not God, the distant authority figure, God, the disappointed parent, or God, the gatekeeper. God whose name you use sparingly, but God as intimate presence, God as directly accessible through meditation, God as the beloved, and you as the beloved of God. God as personal relationship, no middleman required. God whose name you speak freely with love, with intimacy, with joy. His father had been a direct disciple of Yogananda, living with him in the 1950s, and watching this man in the final years, 70 years of devotion to God, 70 years of Kriya practice, I saw what a real relationship with God looked like. It looked like joy, not duty, intimacy, not distance, freedom, not control, love, not fear. Talking about God and to God constantly, not sparingly. When I read the autobiography of a yogi for the first time, I cried for 90 minutes straight because Yogananda didn't water down the word. He said, God, over and over, direct, personal, intimate, God, page after page. God realization, talking to God as a friend, direct contact with God. God, 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 not sparingly, abundantly. And I realized this. This is the word I've been afraid to claim. Not universe, not source, not divine consciousness. God. The same word the Mormons used, but now reclaimed, redefined, freed from institutional control. The same word I was taught to use sparingly, now spoken freely. That reclaiming, that was my reconstruction. When I could finally say, God, without flinching, without Mormon baggage, without shame or distance or fear of being too familiar, that's when I knew I was free. So when I teach, I say God. When I meditate, I talk to God. When I record these episodes, I speak about God, not sparingly, abundantly. Not because I'm trying to be Christian or Mormon or exclusive, because that word represents my victory. I fought to get that word back, and I'm not going to ration it, control it, or use it sparingly to make anyone comfortable. I'm going to use it the way Yogananda did. Freely, intimately, constantly. The way a real relationship with God allows. Now, here's what I want you to hear. My word doesn't have to be your word. If God still triggers you because of religious trauma, you don't have to use it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You can say divine, universe, source, great spirit, goddess, mystery, love, the beloved, or no name at all, just direct experience. What matters is that your word is authentic to you, not borrowed from a spiritual teacher trying to sound inclusive, not generic corporate spirituality language, not what you think you're supposed to say. Your word, your truth, your direct experience. True inclusion doesn't mean I water down my language to avoid triggering anyone. True inclusion means I honor my word, God, and I honor your word, whatever it is. I model authentic reconstruction, reclaiming God with freedom, and I give you permission to find your own path to reclaim your sacred language. When I say God boldly in my teaching, I'm not telling you that you have to. I'm showing you that reclaiming the language that was stolen from you is possible. If I hid my God language to seem more palatable, you'd never see that freedom modeled. You'd never know that reconstruction could include reclaiming the very words that hurt you. So I say God. You say whatever resonates. And we both honor the direct, personal, intimate relationship that needs no gatekeeper. That is true inclusion. Here's another truth. My lineage uses God. Paramahansa Yogananda didn't write Autobiography of a Yogi and call it Autobiography of a Universe Realizer. He wrote about God realization. He taught direct contact with God. He spoke about talking to God as a friend, not source energy. God. The Second Coming of Christ, his massive 1,500-page commentary on Jesus' teaching, is about the Christ consciousness and direct relationship with God. My Kriya initiation came through a man who spent 70 years in relationship with God. When I use God language, I'm not making it up to sound Christian. I'm honoring my lineage. I'm honoring Yogananda's teaching of God realization. My partner's father's 70 years of devotion to God. The direct transmission I received, Kriya, as pathway to God intimacy. My own 59 years of direct spiritual experiences with God. To water that down to universe would be dishonoring the very lineage I inherited. And here's the thing. Yogananda unified Eastern and Western spirituality. He didn't say abandon Jesus God language for yogic terms. He said the truth is the same. Call it God, call it Brahman, call it Divine Mother, call it Christ consciousness. But he never watered it down to corporate spiritual speak. Neither will I. Here's something I learned on the morning when that troll comment came in. You're going to be criticized no matter what you say. If I say God, some people will call me religious, exclusive, triggering. If I say universe, I lose my authentic voice and become a forgettable spiritual teacher number 4,839. So I might as well be criticized for telling the truth. Watered down spiritual content sounds like this. I invite you to align with source energy and connect with universe consciousness through intentional presence. It's safe. It's generic. It appeals to everyone, which means it transforms no one. Authentic spiritual content sounds like this. I have a direct, personal, intimate relationship with God. No church required, no middleman, no gatekeeping. And you can too. It's polarizing. Some people will unsubscribe. Transformation requires someone bold enough to speak their authentic truth, even when it's uncomfortable. When I say God with freedom, I'm modeling the very reconstruction that you need. If I watered it down, I'd just be another spiritual teacher offering information, but I'm not offering information. I'm offering transformation. And transformation requires authenticity, not palatability. So here's my invitation to you today. What word did religion steal from you? Maybe it's God. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's sacred or holy or devotion or worship. What word makes you flinch because of how it was weaponized against you? That's the word you need to reclaim. Not by forcing yourself to use it before you're ready, but by getting curious. Could that word mean something different for me now? Could I redefine it outside of institutional control? Could I take back the language that was stolen and make it mine? For me, it was God. For you, it might be something else. Or it might be the same word, but you're not ready yet. That's okay. Here's what I know. Every word you reclaim is a piece of your freedom. When I can say God without Mormon baggage, I'm free. When I can teach about God without shame, I'm free. When I can invite you into direct relationship with God without apologizing, I'm free. And when you find your authentic word, whatever it is, you'll be free too. This is post-religious reconstruction. Not running from the old language, but reclaiming it on your terms. Taking back what was stolen. Redefining what was weaponized. Speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. So, I'm going to keep saying God. You're going to keep finding your word. And together we're going to build a community where authentic spiritual language is honored, not policed. Because the divine, God, universe, source, whatever you call it, doesn't care what word you use. It only cares that you show up authentic, unfiltered, free. So the other day, a stranger on the internet called me crazy for my spiritual content. Instead of making me doubt, they made me more committed to speaking my truth. Because if I'm going to be called crazy anyway, I might as well be called crazy for something that matters. For teaching direct access to God without gatekeepers. For modeling language freedom after religious trauma. For showing post-religious seekers that reconstruction is possible. So here's what I want you to remember. Say your truth. Use your word. Honor your direct experience and trust that your people will find you, not because you watered down your message to appeal to everyone, but because you spoke so authentically that the right people couldn't help but listen. I'm Tamara Ridge. This is the Inner Light Companion podcast, and you're never too far from the divine, no matter what you call it. Subscribe for more episodes on spiritual intimacy, post-religious reconstruction, and direct access to the divine. And if you're ready to reclaim your sacred language, I'll be here. speaking my truth and honoring yours and lighting the path forward, not guarding the door, just holding the light. See you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. As you step into your day, notice which intimacies stirred for you, and then choose one small practice and let it meet you where you are. You want support? Grab the free Sacred Intimacy snapshot, and when you're ready, the full Sacred Intimacy assessment that can guide your next steps. Links are in the show notes. Until next time, walk gently, listen deeply, and trust the light within.